So Alex, you are based in Southwest England. How did
Yeah.
you how'd you get involved in the game of golf? How'd you kind of give me
Oh,
a backstory?
uh, I played from quite a young age. I mean, I played when I was really young, kind of like 4 or 5, with my father. My father got me into it. That's usually the way that people get into golf, you know.
Yeah.
And I didn't give it up, but I didn't really take it seriously until my like kind of mid-teens, my like 14, 15. I used to play football or soccer to you guys to, you know, I was quite into that, and I played that at a relatively higher level. But then football took a back seat and golf took over, and kind of led me down the path I was at now, to be honest.
And you play golf at Beth and Cookman?
Yeah, yeah. I played kind of county and regional stuff back at home, back here in England, and then I kind of embarked on the journey to get on a scholarship website and see if any places would have me over there. So I got into Bethune-Cookman in Daytona, which is it's a great school, and it taught me a hell of a lot in terms of, you know, it's a historically black college and university. So I mean, going from not being a minority to being the minority in a school, it teaches you a lot, and it does kind of humble you in a lot of different ways when you go there. It's a very similar route to you guys like Sean Foley. Sean Foley went to a historically black college, similar to me, played. And then, you know, it just teaches you a lot of different things about your life, really, as well. And
Yeah.
upon completion, I come back home, returned home, tried to play for a few years, but I always knew my calling was kind of teaching. I was kind of teaching as I was playing as well. And one of those guys that didn't want to admit I wasn't a player, and I was a coach for a while. And then I just found myself, I go to golf tournaments, and all my friends would want to go around and walk around the holes and see them hit different shots. And I'd just sit on the range for like 5 hours, 6 hours. And they were like, "What are you doing?" And I'm just looking at their swings on the range. That was kind of where that led me, to be honest. It kind of thought that's what triggered it to me to think, well, you know what, I'm more of a player. I'm more interested how the swing works and how we're going to get people around the course.
How was that experience? Did it take a little bit to get acclimated to?
Definitely.
What were like some of the
Definitely.
biggest differences?
In terms of weather, was huge, obviously. I mean, I went from being highs of, I don't know, to you guys like 50 or 60 Fahrenheit to being 92 heat index of 110 on a bad day. And having to walk 36 holes in that heat was not any fun, playing golf college tournaments. But it certainly does teach you a lot. My first year was, to be honest, it was a struggle. And in between my first year and my second year, my coach, he left, that recruited me over there, and they got a new guy in, and I wasn't going to go back, to be honest. I wasn't going to go back for the second year. It was quite a struggle for me. But the new coach had come in, he kind of had a discussion with me, and we kind of had, you know, good in-depth conversations about me staying, and it worked out to be amazing, because then the last 2 years I was there, I captained the side, and it is some of the best experiences of my life to date, by a long way, by a long, long way. Just the family atmosphere, and everyone at the university, regardless, they make you feel welcome, you know,
Did you,
and that was
do you still keep in touch with a lot of the guys on the team, and do you any of
all
them
of
go
them.
professional?
Yeah, I mean, one of the guys I teach, you might see on my Instagram and things like that a lot, which is Leon Fricker.
Oh, okay.
He's from down a little bit further south of where I am. He's only about 45 minutes away from where I am now. I knew him before I went over there. And then my roommate, Matt McKnight, he's from Ireland. He was my roommate for my second 2 years, and he is caddying out on the European Tour at the moment. And there was a tournament near my house recently, so I went and seen him there. And then even all the American guys, I still keep in contact with them. They're some of my good close pals. They some of them still send me swing videos to have a look at, and you know, I don't mind helping them out. And there's one guy over there called Willie Mack, and he's doing really, really big things at the moment. He was my roommate for my sophomore year, and he's absolutely tearing up the mini tours at the moment. He's doing a great job.
That's fantastic. And then you said you got into instruction pretty quickly after you said you played a little bit professionally.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I played a bit mini tour wise, and then I was always better at teaching, to be honest, as much as I wanted to admit it, you know.
Did you have like so when you started teaching, did you try to base like your coaching style off of people that you were coached by, or did you kind of try to bring your own unique flair to it?
I'm very fortunate enough to have worked and kind of learned off a lot of the best coaches worldwide, and to be with some of the players as well, because I've, you know, even from a young age, when I was kind of 18 or 19, the guy that I teach now, Dixon, who you post about a little bit, I've been out on the European tour and caddied with him, so I've seen a lot of that side of things back when I was at university still, and just kind of at home in between semesters. But it's kind of based on, my philosophy is based kind of, it's developing over time. I mean, I wouldn't say I've got a definite, distinct philosophy, apart from that my newfound philosophy is old school is the new school. If that makes sense. I'm very, very much along the lines of freedom of rotation. Everyone swings built to their own anatomy, and you'll find if you go through my Instagram that none of my guys swing it the same, but there is a bunch of preferences that all of them have visible that people might not be able to see, and it's preferences that they work on constantly that is able to then get them to learn more. We collaborate more together. They got a better work ethic as a result of that, and they get higher performance levels. And linking that, then I've always been an advocate of how we use the ground and what we do using the ground. So as soon as the opportunity came up with V1, it just seemed to have to jump on it, to be honest.
Yeah, how did that all take place? How did you guys get in contact with each other? How did that start?
So it was, I always, historically, it's quite funny. Whenever I was at university, I always used to joke and kind of have a laugh with a load of the guys that I play with, saying, come on, work on your footwork. If you work on your footwork, it's going to do everything for you. It's going to make the club work how you want it to work. And they always used to take the mick out of me near enough and just go, oh, footwork, that's all you do. But it kind of come full circle when during lockdown, actually, I'd been keeping an eye on the BodiTrak and the V1 stuff with the pressure mats, and I watched a webinar with Jake, and I was always kind of in contact with or learning a few things about it at the time. And when it come to fruition with V1, it was just perfect. It seemed like the perfect time to get it. And fresh out of lockdown, I come back with this pressure mat in, I don't know, I think it was end of April, kind of May time, when we were all allowed to back out and golf was allowed again. And it was like a sensation, really, when it kicked off.
Yeah. So you mentioned lockdown, and we were talking a little bit before about, what's it like over there now before, compared to what it was before. When COVID first struck, or when you guys first entered lockdown, what was your immediate thoughts as far as a golf instructor and as far as the game of golf before we kind of knew that there would be this massive surge in popularity?
My immediate thought was I need to get in contact with my players and get them kind of golf nets in their garden so that they can keep swinging. But it just, I use lockdown as a tool to learn an absolute ton of new things. I've done online courses, I've done online learning, all from all the best instructors in the world. And you had a bunch of these Instagram lives going on that I would tune into every night. I wouldn't have much else to do. So it just come at a good time. And then I was able to come out of lockdown with a new pressure mat and absolute full knowledge, or not full knowledge, but a really in-depth knowledge due to the learning that I had done on kind of how it works and what it does.
Now you mentioned that, are you coaching any American players right now, or are you just focusing on European?
I've got a couple guys that obviously I went to uni with that are over there, and I've got a guy that I've just started to hook up with that played at a different college when I was over there. And, he kind of messaged me on Instagram. He's like, I love what you're doing. And obviously we're pals and we're friends. So we've started to collab a little bit. I'm working with a bit of both, but I can see that that there is a correlation or a difference in how Americans and Europeans swing it. It's quite funny because I could see that anyway from university, because I went over to university and I was hitting it head high bullet. And I can imagine if you had chucked me on a pressure mat at the time, I would have been heavily lead side, heavily stacked left, and heavy kind of chewing down on the ball to keep it out of the wind. And I come over there and all the Americans hit it into the atmosphere, just absolutely into space. And your swing changes and adapts to that. And that is the environmental changes that I go on about a lot with the pressure mat. And that's one of the good things with it, is you can just take it anywhere. And it's the difference with Americans and Europeans. You can kind of just compare it to links golf and parkland golf. You know, links golf, you're hitting it this high; parkland golf, you're hitting it that high. And I think the Europeans gain a lot in that, and that's why you see a lot of Europeans, obviously, or a lot of Americans, other than a select few, that struggle with flighting the ball in the wind and things like that, and they struggle in US Opens and not US Open, sorry, the Open Championship.
Did you, when you were here and you went back to when you went back to the UK, was there things specifically that you saw in American-born players that you were like, okay, I can take that, and when I can go back to Europe and I can introduce that into my introduction when I'm working with some of these guys?
I mean, if I was to do it one way round or the other, it's easier to hit it how Americans do, and then be able to teach them how to hit it lower, than it is hitting it as your stock shot lower. It's harder to fly it higher, if that makes sense. That's kind of where I've found it, you know, because I've got Leon still, obviously, and he still hits it kind of quite flat. He doesn't really send it, so it's harder to get in to get it sent out and launched and kind of landing soft. Obviously, he's doing a good job of it at the moment, but he's you know, it's easier to coach it the other way around for sure.
And how did some of your players and your clients take to the BodiTrak mat and into working with some of the V1 software? What was their first initial reactions with it?
I think the main thing for me was it just gives them absolute fact. And I had a great conversation today with one of my pros this morning, and he was kind of about 55% on his trail side at address. And I said, you need to get more lead side. And he said, well, I am. I'm like, you're not. You're definitely not. And it was kind of an argument for about 30 seconds. And I said, I'm looking at the pressure here. And he goes, well, show it to me then. And it was almost like, all right, well, here you go. And I put it in front of him and showed him. And straight away, kind of, you get that changed instantly that you would never get if you were to just tell them, I'll do this, do that. You know what I mean? So it was good.
Have you been able to kind of like pair the BodiTrak mat or like the V1 mat with other technology that you already use already in your instruction, like with launch monitors and whatever you might have?
I mean, I've after that, I've kind of moved further away from using launch monitors and more geared towards using the mat. Because I get absolute fact out of the mat. If I say to somebody, you need to hit down on it more, for instance, they don't get the same feeling as, okay, get your pressure lead side quicker. It's a completely different kind of kettle of fish. When you look at the mat, you've got complete fact, and you can say, okay, get your weight in your heels more, and you can put the mat, I put the mat on the iPad in front of them, and I say, look at it here. This is where it needs to be. This is your heel. This is loading your trail foot. This is loading whatever. Whereas if you were to just have a launch monitor and you could have the best one going, you can turn around to them and say, okay, let's get you swinging more into out, and it's nowhere near it. Whereas if you say to somebody, let's get you more of a heel toe trace, okay, and let's get you more in your heel and more in your toe, you're thinking completely less about the swing path, but instantly their swing path changes.
Did you and now for all your different clients and all the people that you work with, are there different groups of people that like to use the mat more? Or do they kind of get more out of it? Like, do older and more experienced golfers get more out of it than maybe some of the younger, more beginner golfers?
Everyone benefits in their own way. Um, as long as you explain it in the correct way and you show them how to do it, which I kind of pride myself in quite a lot, that I can dumb it down or I can really kind of beef it up. If I need to dumb it down, then I can say, okay, well, just put your weight in your heel more. I don't need to say the difference between mass and pressure and all this type of thing that I might need to say to my pros. But it's completely different working with whoever you're working with. You just need to change your language. If you change your language, it's just as effective with absolutely every player that you use it with. So you don't need to talk about swing at all. Every time they come to the lesson, if you just chuck them on the mat and you just say, okay, show me your trace or do a couple swings, I'll see their trace. It's not a case of, the main thing that I like to get across as well, it's not a case of saying to somebody, okay, get your pressure more linear or get your pressure more lateral, your trace, that they'll be better, because sometimes you then do have to get away from looking at just the trace and seeing what would benefit them best. Because somebody could have a huge heel toe trace, but suffer from being steep. And if they're suffering from being steep, they're going to be stuck. And then shifting them away from the heel toe trace, which usually is quite a shallow kind of angle of attack and things like that. It's quite shallow approach. If you shift them away from that, it'll be a little bit more detrimental because you'll just make them steeper if you get them away from that heel toe. So it comes into effect with everything. But as long as I kind of diagnose how they work with the ground first. And then I think, okay, so if they're working like that with the ground, let's have a look at how they're working their body. And that's when I get hugely into the anatomy. And I studied biomechanics when I was at like university and college. And I love to learn how the body works and just absolute freedom of rotation. I mean, you watch swings from Sam Snead, and if you tell me that there's any limit of rotation, you're lying. And if you got people like Ben Hogan, if people kind of got a misconception from Ben Hogan's book, where all he was saying in his book is, I felt this, I felt that, I felt this, I felt that. That was nothing compared to what he was actually doing. So he said, oh, I felt like I restricted my knees and his hips were turning like this and his knees were moving back and forward. You know, the feel to him, and this is where you bring in again another effect of feel versus real. Somebody's feel could be absolutely miles away from their real, and that's what you need to get into the heads of the people that you're teaching. Is it doesn't matter how much you exaggerate it, if you can't do it slow-mo, you're not going to do it at speed. So you need to find different feels that work for you and work for every player. And I've got guys that feel like it takes them 5 seconds to get to the top of their backswing, which just gets them massively completing their turn, so that it gives them more time to shallow it, and then they rotate and they've got more power than what they would have done if they yanked it up and yanked it down.
So have you noticed that your clients or your people that you work with have been able to pick things up faster, improve faster using the map than before? And, what parts of the game do you think it specifically helps? Does it specifically help, with your drive and adding distance or adding speed, or,
it definitely is. It's accelerated the learning for my players. It kind of, we've got a lot of feels that I can refer back to that just gets them moving so well. And there's a couple with Leon that are just so exemplary to what he does. He'll come and he'll hit a few shots and he'll get on the mat and his trace will be a bit everywhere. He'll be a bit stiff. He won't be ready. And I'll say, okay, do a step drill. So he'll do a step drill and then he'll curl his toes up and then he'll put half a tennis ball under his right toe and he'll hit one. And then all of a sudden he's ripping it. And that was just literally, he'll come on and I'll look at how he's moving. I'll be like, okay, you know what you're doing. Come on, give me a step drill. And he's flushing it. It's equally as good for every part of the game. If I want to get somebody more lead side earlier on, then I'll just take them out on the course, and I'm on a course which is quite hilly, my home course. I'll chuck them on a downhill lie and I'll say, okay, hit one off the mat. And they'll hit one off the mat and their trace will be perfect because because then their pressures are already lead side and they're rotating into it better.
Yeah.
So it's especially good for environmental changes. And you know, when you were talking about the American versus Europe side of things, I haven't had chance obviously to get a lot of things from American guys on the mat, but I've absolutely no doubt that I would need to get Americans more lead side at times to make sure that they kind of were able to flight it lower and stay lead side with no backup and things like this. But then thinking back to it, to all my college guys that I went to college with, when I think back to it, a lot of them just flight it low, like really low. Not really low, sorry, they flight it really high. Mm-hmm. So they would need to benefit from this. If I had the mat back then and the knowledge that I had now, I'd be like, okay, let's get you more lead side. Let's work at it.
Have you found that you've been able to kind of charge more for lessons because you've added it kind of to your repertoire and to your instruction?
Yeah, I mean, you can charge a little bit more. You can and you I do it and add it up, but 9 times and I still end up doing it because I'm away from and if I diagnose somebody by looking at it, which because I like to deal with matchups and this works because that works and that works because this works. Sometimes I look at it and I think I'm just missing something here, and I'll chuck them on the mat regardless, and I see it straight away. So I think that there's definitely an avenue there that you can charge more, but you know, the people charge more when they use a launch monitor. They're becoming more and more regular. So do they charge more? No, it's just offered as part of your service. That's kind of how you sell yourself, and that's kind of how I sell myself. Really, is it's offered within the service, and you'll get a full breakdown of why and what. But a lot of the times, I might not crack the mat out first time with a first person lesson, not necessarily a beginner. I mean, somebody that comes to see me for the first time. I'm more worried about how their body works, and obviously how they work with the ground has a big direct correlation with how their body works. But I tend to just get them moving the club a little bit better, and then I'll chuck the mat out, and you know, it's good. I mean, I got it out and got it in a bunker the other day when I done a bunker lesson, which was quite funny.
Have you been able to, so like if you're watching like if you're watching like a golf tournament, so like say you're watching the US Open this weekend and you're watching some of these guys live, or you mentioned David Dixon earlier, and maybe you're at a tournament with his, if you're watching him live, are you able to kind of like watch his footwork and watch his swing and be like, oh, if we put him on the mat, I can already tell, I can already diagnose what's going on with him.
That's all I want. That's all I want to do when I look at it on TV. Again, the tour guys' moves are so refined, and they've got such a big, all of their swings are different, but they all match up in different ways. There's all kind of things that they all do very well. There's always something that they do very well. But there was, I think it was Scotty Scheffler from the US PGA, and somebody put up his footwork on Twitter, I think it was. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, I want to get him on the mat, because that would be just unreal. That would be so good to get him on the mat and just see how he moved. I know it would just get hit after hit, just seeing how his footwork is.
So if you're like watching like David Dixon during a tournament and you're like, he hits, say he slices the ball or whatever. Say he just hits a bad shot. Are you just like, well, Tuesday I know exactly what
you can almost see, because when I get to working with my players, I kind of know what their tendencies, and I know why they do something or why they don't. So as soon as I see Dave hit one left, which might be his tendency, I know he's not loaded his trail side enough, and he's kind of stayed stacked left side, because then he'll be stacked left side and he'll start coming down, and then he'll back up out of it and kind of flip it through the impact zone. So I know as soon as I see one go left, I'm like, you're not loading that trail side. I'll just chuck you on the mat. You'll hit 2 shots and it'll be instant. Oh, there you go. Which is it's not great at the moment because you can't travel to any European as a coach. You're not allowed to. So it's not very good.
Have you been doing a lot of, teaching a lot of BodiTrak lessons online? Have you been doing anything virtually with some of your clients that may not be ready to come in for an in-person lesson yet?
I mean, necessarily with newer students, at the moment, I'm trying to go online. In terms of my students, my current students, a lot of them do send me a lot of videos, and my phone is absolutely junked up with videos. But I encourage that, and I think if there isn't that relationship between coach and student constantly, then what are you doing?
Got it.
For
And
me,
that's, sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, that was it. That was
Okay.
it. Just
So
for
like,
me, it's better to have that relationship with your student. And a lot of my students will send me their swing where they haven't actually got the mat with them, but I'll look at it and I'll go, okay, remember when we were on the mat and you curled your toes up and you got your weight in your heel, and that's it. It's just done then.
gotcha. Now, COVID has kind of upended everything. It's kind of
Yeah.
it's kind of just changed the world as it is, and it's kind of made us rely on technology. Like I didn't know what Zoom was before March.
No,
I don't think anybody
no.
knew what Zoom was. And so my question isn't, for me at least during COVID and during shutdown, and when you're not at the golf course, but you want to be able to travel and do these things. I got really into YouTube. I got really into some of these guys,
Yeah.
and some people like Rick Shields and the guys,
Yeah.
up in that podcast and some of their travel videos. Is there anything that you see, I don't know if you got into, if you got hooked on any of those guys or in some of their instructional videos, but I've noticed from just being in this world that there seems to be a big movement of instructors in golf
100%.
going to YouTube and going to Instagram predominantly. Is there anything that
Yeah.
you've added, if you watched the Peter Finch video, that you added into your lessons or you added into your social media?
There's certain things I believe in putting tips out there and swing tips and things like that on my social media channels, but I try to gear towards pushing people to have a lesson, because one drill that works for one guy won't work for another 500. Okay, so if you've got a guy that needs to shallow it out or needs to get their pressure in their heels more or anything like that, you could tell them to curl their toes up, and curling their toes up for someone else might be absolutely miles away for someone else. But in terms of using online and technology, I listen to some golf podcasts and some golf kind of YouTube things and watch those. The way that I learn the best is by either having a lesson with another top coach and sending them my swing and saying, okay, what would you do with this? And just seeing what they say online or virtually, or like a live Zoom lesson or anything like that. I mean, I've done online stuff with George Gangas, Shaheen Nakshavani, Scott Cox. Like, there's loads that I've done online stuff with. And don't get me wrong, it's not great to see them all absolutely rip apart your swing, but I'm kind of the model for my guys. So, I mean, I went and seen a short game guy just Saturday, just gone, that's in London, a guy called Alex Buckner, who's very knowledgeable. And he just taught me a lot about short game that I didn't already know, and how to present it and what to do and what to do here and what to do there. And it's not a case of just taking everything he's told me and applying it to what I do with my students. But I don't think enough people ask why. They'll see like a slice fix on YouTube and they'll go, oh, I'm going to fix my slice. And it's not right at all. That side of it is not right at all. I tend to listen to more podcasts outside of golf. I listen to podcasts on, there's an Entourage podcast that's going on at the moment. I'm a massive fan of Entourage, so I'm listening to that. New episode every Wednesday.
I've got a Johnny Drama kind of swing.
Yes.
I'll probably break Tom Brady's club at some point, but that's kind of where that's kind of my level of play.
Entourage fan, that's what we like. No, but I kind of steer away from that type of stuff, and I listen to more things geared towards the guy's name's Brett McGabe, I think his name is, and he does a lot with the mind and how sports psychology, and I'll listen to some of that because it'll just it'll help me broaden my knowledge. I don't think I need to learn more in terms of, I don't need to learn more in terms of how to move this and how to move that. I can watch certain things like the Jake Therms thing, or I can watch Terry's videos, and I just take little snippets, and I'm not religious on looking at certain pieces because you'll get too bogged down in that type of thing. And I've seen people before give lessons based on what they've seen 2 days before. And a surprisingly horrible amount of swing coaches just teach something that they've seen 2 days before. And they've had no recollection of why it works, what works, does it work with this, does it work with that? And my swing preferences and my swing philosophies are built up of probably 5 or 6 things that 4 or 5 coaches wouldn't agree on. But I believe they work for certain reasons, and that's why they're my philosophies. And I find that they work together.
And you've
things that these instructors, the things that these instructors argue about online, I don't know why they argue about them, because everyone has their own reason for doing something else. Mark Blackburn works with a load of guys. He does a lot with he used to do a lot with the BodiTrak online and things like that. And just watching little videos of him, and I might just pick one up. I'm like, I'll have a watch of that, and I'll watch it, and I'll think, yeah, okay. And then somebody else might do it, and I'll think, yeah, I'm not sure. But it's just finding why and what works for you and what works due to a player's anatomy, basically. And it's something that Scott got across to me, Scott Cox, when I said I had an online thing with him over lockdown. Everyone's got their own anatomy toolbox. Nobody's body's the same. So let's build their swing around their own anatomy toolbox.
I actually kind of like that, because it is kind of true. Everybody's my dad's been playing golf forever. And, he used to be, when I was younger, he used to be like really stingy. And I was like, no, this is the correct way to swing golf club. You got to do this exactly the same way as everyone else. And I played a lot of basketball growing up. So he was like that with my shooting form. He's like, no, you have to, you got to stick your elbow in. It doesn't matter if it goes in the other way. You got to stick your elbow in more. And now, like, you watch his swing, and it's been fun to watch. And he's gone from, 14, 15 handicap, and now he's in the single digits. And he's worked with an array of different coaches. And the thing is, you watch him, his swing is different than he used to be. And the reason being is he was just like, as long as you end up in the same swing plane, as long as, he goes, whatever works for you works for you. He's like, everybody's swing is going to look differently, because I'm 6'2", 220. He's 6 foot, 180. So there's no reason why my swing is going to be the same as his. Or a friend of mine who's 6'8", 235 pounds, and he has to bend down a lot more, and it's actually really funny to watch him swing.
100%. I've got a guy, one of my pros called Ali Balcom, and he qualified for the Open in 2015 as an amateur. He's from England, went to uni in the States, same kind of thing. And if you looked at anyone's swing on my Instagram, you would look at his and almost look at it and think, what's going on there? But I look at it and I think, that's like, there's so much good going on. There is so much good where we want it to be. And it's similar thing to looking at, if somebody looked at a Matt Wolf swing, they look at it and they think, what is going on there? And I look at it and I think it's absolute pure genius.
Yeah. It's because it's so unique, and it's so weird to see.
And that just confirms that everyone's unique and everyone should swing their own swing. And there's Ali's swing, although it might look funky to someone, is so repeatable. And we built in a couple of my preferences, and bingo, he's ready to go. It's just a matter of time before he gets out. He's got some, he's got Euro Pro Q School coming up, and a few other things. So again, his anatomy toolbox is completely different to what Leon's is. Leon's 6'5", Ali's 5'10". He's going to probably get mad at me if I called him shorter than what he is. He might even be shorter than that. He might even be 5'8".
And no one ever gets angry about someone calling them shorter.
No.
So I've got some other questions, and I'm going to jump into down here in a little bit that are a little bit more relaxed and kind of fun questions. But I have one more. So I have friends who are more recreational golfers, me and them get into large arguments all the time. I'm someone who I love golf instruction. I swear
Yeah.
by it, because I can feel myself getting better. I have several friends who are just like, no, I'm a field player. I'm a gamer. I go out there.
Yeah.
I don't even go to the driving range. I just want to go out and I'll
Yeah.
figure it out on the golf course. What do you think is like the biggest thing or like the most important set of someone who's, a middle of the ground golfer who, hasn't never taken a lesson before? What would you say to them to kind of, it's like, let me tell you why golf instruction is so important, or, why working with an instructor would be such a big deal, make a big difference.
It depends if they want to go out and chug beers every time they go and play, or if they want to go out and get better. I mean, that's your difference. You're not going to get better if you don't get instruction. It's as simple as that. I mean, very, very few guys. I mean, you've got people like Bubba Watson that might be one of a select few in the world that is a guy that's had no lessons, that's able to just go out and swing his swing and go out and not have any instruction and do it. And even your guys like Tiger now that has no swing instructor, but he's got that much of an in-depth knowledge and he's had that many swing coaches that he knows what to do.
Yeah.
But just saying to your friends, if they're happy going out, making a couple pars and a few other bits and bobs during the round and chugging a few beers, then let them go out and enjoy it. That's the main thing that people kind of get bogged down in. Golf is a kind of stuck up your nose sport. You need to be dressed smart and do this and do that. I mean, if you want to go out, and to me personally, if you want to go out with your shirt untucked and your hat backwards, go out and do it. Go out and enjoy yourself, because very few people do that nowadays, and it's sad. You should. It's gearing down more towards doing that, but in terms of them if they want to get better, and they're at a stage where they're struggling, then they need instruction. But in terms of everything else, they just need to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it's better for you because you can just go out and take their money off them.
Yeah. There seems to be, I was reading this article and all right, so I want to jump into kind of like a more relaxed, kind of fun part of the conversation.
Sweet.
Like 4 or 5 random questions. The first one is there anything trend-wise, like whether it's instruction, style, anything that you can think of that happened that's gotten hot during the last 4 or 5 months since COVID has hit in the game of golf, that you think or that you wish becomes norm, or that you wish stays with the game going forward?
Just the relaxed nature.
Yeah,
the relaxed nature of people just wanting to go out and play, and the enjoyment of actually going outside. People take all that for granted. And if I was to take one thing from the game, it just gives you so much freedom. Mm-hmm. Regardless of, like you said, regardless of how you play, if you wanted to walk around 6 hours, have a bit of a laugh with your mates, not worry about what you shot, not worry about if you made 5 pars or 18. But it's just more, I think we need to take the enjoyment factor. We need to get the enjoyment factor back to the game. They do these competitions on TV, the 6-hole match play things that they just brought into play in the last couple of years. And, they're fun. They're playing music when you're walking onto the tee, and it's a good laugh, And
then next question would be, if you had to have whatever course it is, what is your dream course that you've never played but you've always wanted to in the entire world? It can be a tour course, it can be a major course, it can just be a random municipal, whatever it might be. What's like the number one course you've always wanted to play, just never had the chance to?
Augusta.
Yeah. I should have said Augusta doesn't count. I should have said
if Augusta doesn't,
that's everyone's choice.
If Augusta doesn't count, I played quite a lot. I played Bethpage. I played Sawgrass. I played, a few of the top courses. What's the one out in California?
Pebble Beach.
The one that everyone raves about. Yeah, well, Pebble I've never played. I'd love to play Pebble. That's like on the bucket list, 100%. There's another one, like a private-y one that you can't really get on.
It's like Pasatiempo. There's Cypress Point. There's
I forget what it's called.
You know what
now.
part
I'll
of
have to
the
Google it.
I know there's some in
No,
like,
I'll have to Google it and let you know. But I know there's one out there that's just views are unreal. But yeah, let's go with Pebble. I'd go Pebble.
I think mine would probably, okay, see, this is hard for me. I'd probably Bandon Dunes. I love,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. Sorry, I didn't
yeah,
know if it
okay,
was in
yeah. So yeah, in
California.
Oregon. Yeah, I
Yeah,
love, I mean, there's definitely some in Ireland that I've seen, like,
yeah,
probably Bunyan would be really great. I'm
yeah. I
very
mean, I played Port Rush. Port Rush is
Port
unreal. Where the
Rush.
Open was when Shane Lowry won. That's an unreal course.
Oh,
Really
that's
good.
awesome. There was a video I saw recently. I went to Iceland last year, and Iceland
Yeah,
it's such a cool country, and I never knew there
yeah,
was golf there. There was a really cool golf course that somebody played in Iceland. I'm like, and it's not it's probably just like $20 to get on. There's nothing special about it, but it was
yeah.
like along the coast of Iceland. I'm like, that would be really kind of cool and
Oh,
unique.
there's one in Switzerland as well. They play on the European Tour called Kranz Cercier, and
Francis,
it's
yeah,
basically in the mountain,
in the
and it
mountain.
is unbelievable. And Dave, the guy he's played the European Tour event that's on there every year, and it just looks unreal on TV. I'd love to play there as well.
Yeah, that'd be pretty awesome. And then
But then again, I'd love to play everywhere if I could.
there's a muni down the street from me. I just love playing there.
Yeah,
There's actually like a great par three course about 20 minutes away from here, just outside the city, and it's great. You go out there with like 3 clubs, and you can just
yeah,
you can get it's 18 holes and get done within 2 hours. It's fantastic.
yeah. I love it.
And then I guess my final question would be, and this is just kind of a silly one, if you had a dream foursome, and
Yeah,
usually I pick like one celebrity, one professional golfer, and then one professional athlete, who would
yeah.
they be?
Mine would be Tiger.
Tiger.
Tiger's number one. Michael Jordan. And just because I know it would be Kobe, but I don't think Kobe plays a lot of golf, to be honest. Or he did, but I don't think he ever played much golf. So I'm going to go Jordan just for the
Jordan.
golf factor. And then Dwayne Johnson.
Dwayne Johnson doing the right Johnson.
Yeah,
I feel like he could. I feel like he hits it pretty far. I feel like that dude.
yeah. Or it's a tough one. I think Tiger's a definite.
Yeah.
Jordan's a 50-50. And then I'm looking at your people like Johnny Drama. I'd debate having him in there. I'd debate having a Kevin Hart in there, someone like that.
You know, there's going to be a lot of money thrown around if Jordan's out there.
Yeah,
It's just some
yeah,
of the
exactly.
There's been so many great videos. Because one of the things I've heard about this new age of NBA players, because like back, I guess,
Yeah,
in the 80s and 90s, watching that Last Dance documentary on Jordan, was that
yeah,
golf was heavily a part of their routine.
massive.
It's like, and
Yeah,
some of these younger guys like LeBron, you're not going to see LeBron on a golf course. So
no,
now that they're all stuck in this bubble, like in Disney World, there's a bunch of them going out to play golf.
yeah,
And there's some really fun videos. If you really search hard on Twitter, you can find
yeah.
the evolution of like some of the guys' swings from like the
Love
first day
that.
they're out there to like the last day they're out there. And you can
Love that. I'll have to have a look at that. That
yeah,
sounds pretty funny,
there's
actually.
a really great account called like the NBA Bubble Life or something. I'll have to send it to you, but you can see
Yeah, yeah.
videos of their swings getting and how much better. It's pretty
Progressively better.
yeah, it's kind of cool to watch. I think for my foursome, I'd have to go Bill Murray.
Yeah,
I need Bill Murray in there. I think for a professional golfer, I've always really been. I always really liked Angel Jimenez, the Spaniard.
yeah.
He looks like the. He
I'd
just
love to smoke a fat
yeah,
one with him.
he's
Get
got
on,
a stogie.
get on the
I
cigar.
feel like he'd bring out a glass, like a bottle of wine, and he's just
Yeah,
having a great
bottle
time.
of Spanish Rioja.
Yeah.
Just get out there. You just
Yeah.
love it. Yeah.
He's someone like him, or God, there's another guy on the tour that I'm a big fan of. I can't think of him off the top of my head, but probably Tiger. Actually, Phil. Phil would be a pretty fun guy.
Yeah, I'd love Phil as well. I love Phil. Yeah.
Yeah, watching those tournaments that he's been doing with Tiger and Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, he just seems like he'd be like a great caddy. He'd know where everything is. He'd tell you exactly where to putt. And then a professional athlete. I love Brett Favre, who's the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah. I'm a Packers fan, so I'll let you off.
Oh, okay. Nice. It's a good team. It's a good team to root for.
Yeah.
Someone like him, or God, there's some other guys in the NBA that I was a big fan of, like Larry Bird. I love Larry Bird. It's just someone like older like that. So yeah, that'd be kind of my dream golf foursome.
Yeah, if it was professional, if it was strict professional golfers, it'd be Tiger, Phil, and someone like a Jimenez, just for the comedy value.
The fun of it, yeah. You know, you're not going
Yeah,
to
but
be too worried about slowing anyone
no,
up because he'd probably be the slowest one out there, just kind of enjoying
yeah,
life.
100%. And if you go down the celebrity route and you get someone like Drama, you're going to get someone like Turtle that's going to caddy for him. So that's going to be ridiculously funny.
That is one of the best episodes in Entourage history. It's just the
Yeah,
golf tournament that he did, and he's
yeah,
just really obsessed with Tom Brady after Tom Brady complimented his girlfriend.
yeah.
It's like, would
Unbelievable.
you see yourself in a New York Giant blue? I think that color
Yeah.
was nice. It was just, I love. There's another episode where Ari gets paired up with Jeffrey Tambor and his kids,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, they shoot like 59 or something like that.
and his kids are just like in the sand trap, like beating each other with the ring.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic.
Yeah, it's comedy gold, that type of stuff. Love it.
So, all right. Well, I appreciate you jumping on.
Nice.
I hope I didn't keep too much of your time. And
No, I'm only sat here. It's 9 o'clock at night now, so it's gearing up, ready for bed. I got one of my pros in at 7:15 tomorrow morning, so straight out on the lesson tee.
I keep forgetting about the time difference. It is 4 o'clock here, and
yeah, 9 p.m. here.
It looks a little like England outside because it's about 65 degrees right now and it's rainy and windy. We're getting
it's relatively warm here for this.
Really?
It's kind of got hot the last couple of days. Well, hot for here. It's not hot for there, but it's hot.
It turned on a dime here. It was like 95 last week. It was kind of like Daytona weather. Just more of it. I mean, I went out and played 9 holes, and by the time at the end of it, I walked it and I was just like, I've never been so dehydrated. And it was sweaty.
I played the worst one. We had to walk 36 holes. It was like 120-degree heat, and it was one of the worst experiences of my life.
Yeah.
To date.
It's just horrible. It is just, and it's sort of like somebody there was something put out, I think it was by Golf Digest or something like that. It was like, what's your favorite season to play golf in? And all seasons are great to play, but I've always liked the fall. I've always liked the late fall.
Yeah.
It's just chilly. Granted, you're gonna have to wear a jacket, maybe a hat, but it's just.
I like getting little jumper, little sweater on, pair of trousers.
Yeah. Just
job done. Just keep nice and cozy. Like 55. Buzzing, perfect.
Yeah, a couple beers might warm you up. You never know.
Yeah, exactly that. A couple shots if you miss the green, you're good to go.
There you go. So, all right, awesome.
Nice.
So what I'll do is I'm gonna